Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome everybody to the eighth episode of Discover Hospitality, a series where we discover the hidden jobs and careers in the hospitality industry and share career advice for students, graduates, and those of us with a few years of experience and anyone in the hospitality industry who is seeking for tips. I am your host, Maria Malaniia. I am a hospitality graduate, a guest experience and hospitality brand specialist, and the founder of Savvy Hotelier, a place for hospitality students to ask questions, find resources for their studies, and beyond. Discover Hospitality series dives into many areas of the industry, such as events, travel, wine, entrepreneurship, restaurants, hotels, and much more. Um, and today we're talking about hospitality travel tech careers. With me, I have three panelists to help us discover what jobs and careers are possible in the hospitality tech niche of the industry. I bet you didn't even know you could have a job in the hospitality tech side. So we're going to tell you all about what is possible and give you real practical tips on what jobs there are and how to find them. So um, before I start introducing the panelists and ask them all of these burning questions, I want to obviously thank them for their participation and their volunteering their time to help share their experiences and share their knowledge, as it is done on a volunteer basis, and I'm super grateful, and we're looking forward to hearing from them. Well, if you have any questions throughout the conversation, if you want to ask one of the panelists specific, or you want to ask all of the panelists something, just pop them in the comments, and I will make sure to address them throughout. So without further ado, let's meet the panel. First up, we've got Maria Corpas, a freelance hospitality and travel tech copywriter today, but previously an implementation project manager at Micros, which is now Oracle. Maria started in the tourism industry trying to figure out what she wanted to do and found the tech space her home, which is now even a copywriter in the tech space. Great to have you here, Maria.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks.
Then we got Carmen Istrate, a hospitality management graduate from The Hague in the Netherlands. She's a hospitality tech enthusiast, an SaaS implementation specialist at Oaky, which is a personalized upselling tool that automatically sends personalized offers to your arriving guests. So it is a connects with your PMS and helps you improve your revenue. And it's great to have you, Carmen, and we're looking forward to hearing all about your story.
Thanks for the nice introduction, Maria. Happy to be here.
Amazing. And finally, we have Andrew Pirret, who is a VP of product at Alliants, and which is a digital guest experience communication product for the hospitality industry, developing applications for all kinds of brands, whether it's Four Seasons or Jumeirah, for example. Andrew is a hospitality graduate himself from Oxford Brookes. He took the traditional path in hospitality, and he's worked his way through pretty much every hotel role, including several years as the night manager. It's interesting to hear your story, Andrew. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Maria. Pleasure to be here.
So I'd like to start these conversations by asking you to share your story. I think these are one of the most valuable way to learn and hear how come you got to where you are, how come you found hospitality travel tech as something that you're super interested in and found those roles for yourself. So Maria, why don't we start with you? How did you get started working for Micros? How did you discover hospitality tech? And maybe you can do a little bit of how did you get to copywriting as well later on in your career?
Sure. I was working on the hotel in Ireland, and then we were working with this 3700 Micros workstation where we had to put all the information in, and all the information was transferred to the reception. And I was like fascinated really with that technology. I mean, you have to think that 15 years ago, we didn't have the Wi-Fi we have today. So that was very interesting for me. So I started digging a little bit about how that worked. I was just always asking myself how that was working. And one day I was reading the newspaper and I saw this ad, this job offer. I still keep it because it means so much to me. And that was from Microsoft. So when I read it, I saw that they were looking for people with my background, worked at hotels, but they also say that it was good to have people with IT background. I didn't have that. I didn't know anything about computer, so I discarded. But I really believe in the law of attraction. And a few days after, I met a guy at a party, and that guy was working at Fidelity. So he told me, Maria, you just have to apply. That's it. They're looking for people with your background. About the IT, don't worry, you get trained. And I applied. I got the job, I got trained, and from there up. I moved to different positions, and I also learned how to use and implement different products that we had. So I learned, definitely. That was the first path, let's say, I took. The second one was copywriting. And the reason why it turned is because after 12 years working in the travel tech, I had 2 kids. So I was thinking of, should I stay in this path, or should I take a turn and do something else? So I was thinking well, maybe what I can do is to get all this expertise I have from the hospitality industry and travel tech, and combined with communication. Because in the past, I was a journalist. I studied journalism. And then I thought, why not combine it all together and do something? The very first thing that came to my mind was blogging. But I was like, no, that's no for me. So, and again, the law of attraction came. And it brought to me the word copywriting. I didn't know anything about copywriting before, nothing. And then I started digging, and the more I knew about it, the more I loved it. And then I thought, okay, that's fantastic. I can put all my expertise together. And that's how I became a copywriter for the hospitality and travel tech. Yeah, that's my story.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. It shows that you can have various paths and versatile paths and find a way to put them together and find a new path, and whether that wherever life takes you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Maria. And Andrew, when you were graduating, it was 2008. So we all know what happened in 2008. But what did you think your career was going to look like ahead in the hospitality industry, kind of versus what it turned out to be?
Yeah, it's definitely not the same as what I thought. So I made the really smart move. I was working at Four Seasons at the time during my sort of degree. So I was working on the weekends. Got to the summer, I graduated. I was like, great, I'll take the summer off. It's fine. And then I'll just join back in September. Lots changed in that short period of time that I could not get a job back. So I wasn't able to go back to the Four Seasons team, and I was applying to loads of different jobs. Couldn't get anything. You're too qualified. Once things pick up, you'll leave us, which is actually probably a fairly true observation. So it wasn't unjust. So I ended up going into residential property management, ended up working in One Hyde Park, spent lots of time in operational roles. What I found was really interesting was you kind of graduated, you start at the bottom, and well, how do you move up? So I decided if I moved to nights, I would become my own master in a way. So I made the shift to night. So I'd spent 3 years working night shifts, which I actually quite enjoyed. You really got to do a lot. You became the person that everyone had to come and ask the answer to. And then I got married, so decided to move back to days because that's what normal people actually have to do to keep a relationship going. So I moved to days, and then got more involved in projects overview. So we redid the telephone system. I wasn't an IT guy, but I just knew kind of, hey, we just need to get this working, and like the problem solving, which I think loads of people go into hospitality because they like the problem solving and they have to think on their feet. So I took on a telephone project that failed 3 times because of the phones we got into that route, then ended up looking after hot sauce in the hotel and rebuilding it so it worked for the hotel because it was underutilized. So I started getting into more of these things. Then Four Seasons, who I was with at the time, were launching a mobile app, and I was asked to be on the project team for the hotel. We're a pilot. We had the executives come there. They come in and go, oh, it's going to be really cool. It does this, this, and I was like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. So that's how I ended up getting moved into the sort of technology role. And it was really, how does operations and technology work together? How do you become that translator between, hey, operations, look, we're probably asking for too much. We can do what we need to do with that. And then to the IT guys are going, we really need this. This is like a hard line, and them understanding it, and also having the use case. So that ended up meaning I actually worked with the Alliants guys back in 2015. I was seconded to them for 3 months. So I ended up working with them. And I remember, and Maria, you probably get this from Micros, but we got big lines of code. And as an ops person, you're looking through there going, I'm looking for that PMS number. Oh, that piece of information. If you give me that little piece of information there, as an ops person, I've got all I need to do. And that's kind of how I got into it. It was very much of taking that operational guest experience lens and going, well, how can the digital piece deliver on that for me? And it was truly just looking for, these are the points of information I need to deliver on that experience. So that's kind of how I got into it. But no, I mean, before I got into the tech side, I was learning Chinese. I learned Chinese for nearly 3 years because I was like, I'm going to the new world. I'm going to go this way. If like we're all in the financial crash, I'm going to go to China. And because there was a big push at that time to have Western sort of GMs and hotel managers. So I was going, right, I'm going to go that way, see how that works out for me. And then this kind of landed on my lap, and that's how I ended up. But no, I never foresaw this path. I didn't think I'd be at a tech company. When I still speak to people, I'm like, I'm not a tech person. Like I'm just an ops person that knows how some of it works and can problem solve it.
Yeah, you're still a hotelier.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all about guest experience in my head. It's how do you take that physical experience and replicate it in a digital experience? It's problem solving. And I think Carmen's nodding heavily, so I think she can appreciate it's very similar, right?
Yes, Carmen. Well, thank you for sharing, Andrew. It's a brilliant story. I think I have lots of questions to those touch points. And we're just gonna get to introduction to Carmen. Carmen, tell us your story. You're relatively recent graduate, 2019. And how did you find tech? How did you discover it, and what do you do now?
It was very nice listening to Andrew and Maria, because I think that I'm kind of a fusion between those two stories, where I can identify myself. Well, in order to get to that point, I think I will have to walk you through some episodes prior to that. It all started in 2015 when I moved to Amsterdam for my studies. The only thing I knew at that point when I jumped into that plane and moved from Romania was that I wanted to pursue a career in hospitality and travel. I didn't know what that would look like when I was about to graduate 4 years later. But then my idea at that point was that I was going to work in hotels, and I eventually was going to be a general manager probably. And yeah, that was the idea that I left with. After a year of studying in Amsterdam, I had to move overseas for my internship. I chose an internship in Italy, in Four Seasons Florence. Great company. I loved it. I was working in operations in the housekeeping department. But that was probably for me a moment when I realized that I was never going to be working in operations for a longer period of time. It was just an eye-opener, and it wasn't a bad experience for me or anything. It was just that I didn't see a fit between me and that position. After that amazing experience, where I got exposure to what a luxury brand actually means, and how they treat their guests, and how they provide hospitality at the highest level, I moved back to Amsterdam, and then I started digging into where I wanted to be whenever I would graduate, because I knew I didn't want to be in a hotel. At the same time, I was working part-time in hotels in Amsterdam in front office. And I think it was in 2019, 18, when I started working in this hotel in Amsterdam, not branded or anything. It was a 3-star hotel, and they had this amazing property management system. By that time, I had worked with Fidelio, I had worked with Opera, I had worked with Lodgegate and other systems, very traditional ones. And when I saw this property management system, you could make payments in the system, there were so many features coming out of it. I just fell in love with it. I was like, this is amazing. This is like a groundbreaking for the hospitality industry. Everyone should have this. This makes your life so much easier. There was no night auditing there. The system would run through automatically. And I started researching about this company. It was fairly new at that point. The founder of the company happened to graduate from the same school as me, so that was a big plus. And then I just applied for a role in implementations. And I was like, let's just try this out. I didn't have a drive for the hospitality tech industry at that point. I was just amazed about the product, and I saw the potential in it. And I really wanted to be part of that change and to promote that in the industry that we're working on, because I felt that a lot of more people should know about it, because that would automate operations and that would make the guest experience way better than it was by using those systems that we are used to. And so I moved to London. I was there for 5 months within the implementation department of new systems, while discovering basically all those amazing partners, all those amazing other companies that are in the industry, providing software for hotels to make the guest experience better. After those 5 months, I decided that I wanted to get back to Amsterdam and write my thesis. And I got so inspired by all this new universe that I discovered about this industry, the tech industry, that I knew that I needed to research a little bit better on that. And my thesis was exactly about that: technological trends affecting the hospitality industry, how we provide service and how we make it better for the customers that have more and more expectations from us as hospitality businesses. So I graduated in 2019, recently, I would say, as Maria mentioned. And then I started working for the amazing company that I'm working today, Oaky, that is an upselling platform, and I'm still doing implementations. So that's more or less my story.
Thank you for sharing. I think it's so interesting how it's just so many similarities between the three of you, and I totally didn't plan this. It was completely by accident, but it's, you discover things, you come along, you want to learn more, you get curious, and you find your way, whether it's whatever point in your career that is, whether you're looking for the pivot or not. It just kind of law of attraction, or if it's just a new opportunity, you just have to keep your eyes open. That's really brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I want to get into talking about work experience and how, we, like you all mentioned, mirroring that operational understanding with the technology side. Andrew, you basically said that you're still a hotelier. The time that you spent on property, that was essential for you in the current job and the job that you have now at a tech company. Without it, would you still be able to do your job, do you think? Or
I think you would still be able to do the job, but I think it adds a lot of gravitas. So the ability to speak, because obviously we're speaking to brands every day, and you're speaking to them about those sort of, how does this work? How does that operational experience work? And having been there, done a check-in, been a concierge, understand that sort of workflow, you're able to sort of give that vision and that sort of lens from that side and say, you wouldn't want to do this because of this, or, oh, you could do this and you could do this. And how do you automate some of those pieces? How do you avoid stepping, like, I'm going to jump a little bit, but you talk about automation as a really big topic in the industry right now because of the current pandemic situation. So how do you avoid sort of augmenting staff versus automating them? And I think that's the really good conversation, because there's so many good people and they've got such good interpersonal and intangible skills, and really give that hospitality piece. How does this technology augment versus replace? And there are different places where that will happen, but I think without that operational knowledge, you lose a little bit that gravitas and you can push back. So having some great conversation with some brands, and it's at the moment, and it's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and this is what you would need to do to make it successful, and this is where your concerns will be, and it allows you to commercially at least have those discussions on a good level, and how we support them as well.
So you're more successful because of that experience, because you were able to gain more respect faster.
I think so. I think so. It took us time. When we were doing it at Four Seasons, when I was in that role, there was a lens, and hopefully there aren't too many of my ex Four Seasons colleagues in here, and it happens at every brand. We hear it from everyone is, oh, head office doesn't understand what we do here at the property, and they don't have a concept of that, and they don't really appreciate that. So when I took the jump from property to corporate, my whole thing was, I've got to make that voice heard. I've got to bring the voice of the operational teams there so that we can do that. What became really interesting is the more projects we did, the greater the confidence became at the properties. We had a much cleaner process. So the first project took like 2 years to get to full maturity. And then towards the end, over the 5 years that I had that sort of tenure, we were doing a project in like 6 months because, right, these are the people we need to engage. These are the questions we're going to ask. This is how we're going to roll it out. And you had buy-in from them because they trusted that it may be not right first time, but it's iterative. It's a journey. And I think that was a really key piece, is when you're trying to build out a concierge system in 3 months, because that's the termination period you've been given by your supplier, you need to move quickly and you need to get everyone, hey, this is where we're trying to get to, but we're not going to be there on day one. We've got to move towards that way. And I think that's really having that operational piece where someone says, hey, that's not going to work because of this. You go, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Right, let's make sure we capture that. How do we then improve that going forwards? And that's ultimately, for me at least, as a sort of product owner in hospitality tech, how I see it is, it's how do I make you better? How do I get you in front of that guest? Because ultimately, you spending more time with the guests is going to increase your revenue, not being behind a computer head down, right? How many of us worked in reception and every time the SVP comes in and go, their heads were down? Yeah, because I've got like 15 windows open and I've got to do all this stuff and it doesn't make it easy. Like, they should be in front of this. But yeah, when I go to check the reg cards, so it's how do you merge that together and have that, hey, it's got to work this way.
Yeah. And it's always about the guest. It's always about the guest, and not having to type so many things at check-in, but actually having that conversation, improving that interactions, and it will overall improve the non-tech experience that the guest has. They probably don't even think about tech when they're there, isn't it?
That's the ultimate goal, right? Is if they didn't think that tech was even a part of it. Like, that's the best thing. If it can be that so much in the background that you're like, oh, this is an amazing experience, and it's just powered in the background.
Awesome. Maria, how does that relate, I guess, to what you do in copywriting? It's all about the guest. It's all about the person who's reading the website that you're trying to convince that this is the best hotel, this is the best travel destination for them. Is there any synergies here?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what Andrew was saying. It's like just the fact that I was there, and I was there. The good thing is that I feel the empathy with my customer and the customer of my customer, because I also travel a lot. So I can be in both sides. And sometimes when they ask me, I want this, and I say, actually, I don't think your customer wants it. So you have to rethink. Or you tell them, yes, I know your customer wants this, but remember that and that, because I was there. So it's like, okay, so this empathy that you build, it's key. It's absolutely key. And I know that many students are listening now, but I can tell you, if you have worked at a hotel, that is priceless. What you're going to bring to the technical industry, it's priceless. It's amazing. I can share a story with you guys. When I was working as a support agent, I was in Galway, and I remember I was taking care of Pizza Hut and Burger King stores. They have our lovely workstation. And I remember they were calling me like really so nervous because everything was just shut down or something happened. I was like, calm down. I've been there. I know what you're going through. So it was a really psychological thing, but it helped so much these guys because I know what they were going through in that moment. So only this can show you that amazing gift that it is to have been there on the field, work on the field, work at a restaurant. It doesn't matter where you work. You're going to bring that with you if you move to the technical area, definitely.
Yeah, and can you tell us about what role did you have at Micros and then Oracle, and kind of any advice that you have, especially, well, you already shared that obviously the hotel experience is crucial. It's almost without it, you wouldn't be as good at your job, especially when it comes to the implementation side of things. But tell us more about what you did and what kind of tips you've got. Someone who's interested in that.
I started in the support department, so I was working with some brands. We had like every group had a brand. So I have Burger King and Pizza Hut, and those were the ones I was looking after. That in that moment, I had to learn a lot. I have to admit, because I didn't know anything about technical stuff. So I knew the operational stuff as Andrew, but I had to learn a lot about what it was in that little box. This box that really fascinated me, but how did it work? I had to learn. So I had a learning process there. They gave me a training, and after that, after a few months, I was able just to be working and supporting the two brands. After that, I decided to look for something different within the company, and then I moved to Germany, where I live now, and I had the opportunity to work with one other product that we had at Micros. But I was in a different level. It was a second level support. So I was looking after our regional offices. From there, I moved to project management and the F&B department, and then to hotel implementation, always talking about project management implementation for the whole variety of products we had in both line of businesses.
Mm-hmm. So that all of your previous experience definitely came super valuable in those roles. Similarly, Carmen, you're working in implementation right now at a entry level role. What kind of other entry level roles are there at the company that someone who's kind of considering moving, or as a student or a graduate like you or yourself, could look into?
Very interesting question. First of all, I would just take a step back and suggest for all those who are interested in pursuing a career in tech, but they are not really sure about it, that they should do an internship in the field. There are many opportunities for students, and I know for a fact that in general, hospitality schools, they offer internships because they have blocks with practical education, so they give the students a taste of what it's like to be in the industry, and then you can explore the different facets of hospitality, because it's not only, when you think about hospitality, it's not only hotels, it's not only accommodation providers, it's everything that is encompassed in that. Is events, it's tech, supplier, all sorts of suppliers. You can talk about the airline industry as well as part of hospitality. One other thing that is good to mention is the fact that when you are going to apply for a role in tech, you're gonna work in a startup, and the environment that you're gonna find there, it's pretty different from what you find in a hotel, in the sense that it requires you a little bit more flexibility, because things change very quickly. The dynamic is just a little bit harder to keep up with the fast pace. You need a lot of creativity, because you're trying things on a constantly, and if it doesn't work, you need to switch to plan B or plan C or plan Z immediately, and that's a crazy switch in mindset that you need to be prepared to and to take into account. Resilience and ability to multitask, because probably depending on the business's needs, then you're gonna move aside from the task that you've been hired for, and try to do a little bit of everything depending on what's needed at that point. But to get back to your question, to what roles are available there on the market. Well, I think that you can find the same roles as in hotels in a tech company, so you can work for marketing.
You're still here.
Sorry. My screen just switched off. So you can work for finance, for marketing, for HR, and for other departments that you find in a hotel as well. But at the same time, there are roles that require you an extra level of technical skills, which we're gonna talk about a little bit more in depth. Those roles vary from account management, keeping in contact with the businesses, with the accommodation providers, business development. In case you are good with sales, then you want to sell your software to the ones on the market. Research and innovation, which I think I'm a bit interested in the topic as well, where you can just look at the market, see what's on the market, and then go a little bit further into that and give some direction to the company in terms of which strategy they should pursue for the years to come or for the months to come. Because you don't have sometimes in a startup you don't have like a goal in mind. You just see how the market develops and you go in that direction as well. So plenty of opportunities. You just need to be curious and to research all those cool companies out there, because there are a bunch of them. Just apply and see whatever position is perfect for your skill set. And if it doesn't turn out to be what you wanted, then it's worth a try still, because you don't know until you don't try.
Yeah, completely agree. That's a great message. You just have to give it a go. There's so many opportunities. You pick something, start there. If it doesn't work, try something else. And that's why internships are so valuable, because you get that little insight of how that could work and whether that's for you or not. Just before I kind of go to the next question, everybody who's listening live, make sure you ask your questions. We're happy to address them, whether it's about work experience, whether it's about skills, or any other particular questions about copywriting, or even the companies that we have here represented. So please don't be shy, ask your questions. I wanted to take a next question to Andrew as well. Is why should someone consider entering the hospitality tech sector as a career choice?
Oh God, I don't know. That's a really good question, considering I kind of fell into it in a nice way. Like, I've really enjoyed it. So I think for me personally, at least, the piece that I've really enjoyed about moving into hospitality tech is when I was at the hotel, you can affect change on a guest, a department. It doesn't really get bigger than your hotel, and it's a small sort of bubble. What I've really enjoyed about hospitality tech is that you can affect change massively across a load. So, I do go back to the sort of Four Seasons experience that we had. Like, we were really digitally naive in 2014. And then we became, like, as we engaged operations, marketing, and IT, and we really brought tech as a really forefront element, we were able to affect change and move things forward very quickly. I think the one piece around COVID that was good was Four Seasons had spent the time over the last 5-6 years sort of actually building in technology at the core of digital, at the core of everything that had done. So when COVID happened, remote work was a turn on the switch. They had all the platforms, they had the mobile app, they had the messaging, and they'd slowly been iterating towards it. It wasn't 2 years and it works. And so I think that's been the really interesting piece, is we were able to move the company in a few years, and we then got recognized for it as well, because we really brought in that human side. So I think if you can blend that hospitality experience and knowledge that you've got, and anyone here that's been graduating and studying that has a passion for it, and then you can bring it in with those other elements, you can really make some amazing experiences. And as Carmen said, there are roles for everybody. So if you're really good at project management and managing those things, you can be in integrations and installations, and you can be in training. If you really just like the care and the connect element, there's support roles. And the support roles, as Maria said, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, is such an empathetic way to connect with them, just like you would with a guest. If they come down and they complain about something in their room, it all works the same. It's still delivering that. And actually what I really like about the hospitality tech companies is hospitality is so much part of the blood that the approach is very similar to the hotels. And it's not just a pure tech company that, oh, it's support, leave it. They really want to bring that element into all of the ways that they do with it. So it's live, eat, and breathe hospitality. but then improve the experience. So I think that would be my lens on it. Oh, I see we've got a question in there from Rita. How do you see hotel tech development in comparison to other industries? That is a really good question. So one really good quick observation, I think we are now accelerating massively in hospitality tech due to the impacts of airlines being shut down, hotels. Let's be honest, anyone put their hand up who wants to go on a holiday and has been blocked from doing that, I'm there. So I think there's a huge pent up aggression in that. And there's a lot of brands that have been engaging very recently of how do we scale this? How do we deliver this? Because we've for so long sort of said, oh, mobile keys and all this technology, it's not part of the experience. It's not what we want to sort of do. And we've kind of pushed those pieces off there. If you go back to 2008 kicked off a lot of the fintech increase. So you had people like Robinhood, you had Wise, you've had all of these technology companies that have come out of a huge disruption that's then developed this. I think we're starting to see that move towards in the hospitality space. A lot of the conversations are, how do we open it up? How do we make it easier? How do we connect it? I don't think it's ever going to work at the same pace of fintech. The costs and the values and those pieces will never drive that. But I think you've got people like Muse, you've got people like Oaky, you've got Apple, you've got these really well thought out products and the way that they're approaching the industry of how do I open up the infrastructure and allow brands to make these really good digital experiences. So I think from our side, we are getting there. It's just it's going to take us a while because we've got big legacy PMSs that aren't as open in the infrastructure, and the cost of changing that one piece in the middle is hugely expensive. So I think we're starting to see people go there. We're starting to see the education grow inside the industry on the property level, and it's probably 2 years behind where the sort of technology companies are, but it's starting to migrate there. I think Carmen may have probably a good lens from the Oaky side because you guys have done a bit of a sort of rapid increase as well in that sense. But we're definitely starting to see a good movement towards people wanting digital to become bread and butter of part of that whole guest experience.
Yeah, definitely. And if I may jump in and to add on top of what Andrew was saying, I think in this digitalized world that we're living, customers have higher expectations from us as hoteliers, as accommodation providers. They don't only expect a room and a bed and that was it, a roof under which they can sleep. And that's what these companies are doing. They're improving the technology. And indeed, as Andrew said, it's really, really hard to move away, to step away from those legacy property management systems that we've been using for I don't know how many years. People in the industry are so used to have Oprah as a PMS or Fidelio, and they're very reluctant to change because they've been using this. They don't know anything else. And they think probably if you adopt a new property management system, then it's gonna break the next second. And what are you gonna do with all those customers? So I think I think, yeah, from what I've noticed from the industry, people are very reluctant to change. But at the same time, you can't stay where you are right now because with everything, with all those improvements going on in the world, in all industries, with Uber and all those super Airbnb, for example, all those apps that are developing right now, they kind of push us in the hospitality industry to do the same, to adapt to that, to make the guest experience way better, even prior to them booking our hotel room, even before that. So get visibility on all channels and just offer the guest experiences rather than tangibles.
I think that's a really good comment as well, because I think if you think of your guest surveys, the benchmark is not being set by hotel companies. The benchmark is being set by the Airbnbs of the world. It's by the Facebooks, it's by the Instagrams. If you go and do an app for anyone, or you do a website, you do any sort of software, the expectation now from the hotels and then from also the guest side is very much, it should be at the same level as an Airbnb. And that's really tough to deliver on because of the way that the industry is fragmented in tech, but it's definitely where lots of people are aiming towards. And I know there are some very forward-thinking companies out there that are looking at that. And I see there's a follow-up question in there in regards to jumping into other areas of fintech. So yes, I think that's massively possible for you to go into technology and then to jump into another one. I think if you're studying a hospitality degree and you aren't coding yourself and doing the actual sort of technical sort of developmental side, most of those jumps are towards customer success, support roles, onboarding, and account management, because it's very much taking those soft skills that you have as a hospitality graduate and someone that's got experience in the industry, and then using those sort of intangible elements that you have to deliver on those experiences. That's what I've seen a lot of my peers that I've worked with in Four Seasons. One of the guys now works at Slack, which is a huge company, regional management, and he used to run a reservations office and has moved across there, and Andrew's done fantastically for himself. But there is definitely the ability to jump off. If you learn coding, I would definitely learn coding now, even if it's really basic. It's sort of like, if you can understand how an API works, you're in a really good position, because it's how do I get that data, answer the problem, and then go and get it. That gives you such a good baseline to do anything in this industry.
Yeah, that's super interesting to hear, because lots of companies are actually looking for hospitality graduates and people with these extreme soft skills that we have that are so difficult to learn, because usually, well, you can learn them, but it's a lot harder than learning how a tech system works. And these companies recognize that, and big consulting companies are looking for hospitality graduates to help them with their internal communications events. Their tech companies are looking for obviously soft skills, and within or outside hospitality industry, they understand that there are people who are really, really good at that, and they need to and they're looking for these kind of people. And I want to take this conversation to Maria as well. How do you apply that experience in your copywriting now? Because obviously that's completely different side, but imagine you're still doing very similar things within the hospitality, because you're whether it's website, app, or whatever the platform is that you're copywriting for, it's to convey that message, is to make sure that the customer guest understand what to do and know exactly where to click, where is that button going to be, and what does it say, sort of things.
Yeah, and I have here a very good question. What soft and hard skills are work? The soft skills definitely are experience, all the experience you have, you bring from the field. That's a key. Because you're going to understand when your customer, so your hotelier, talks. When he say, I want these, I want that, or this is my aim. Okay, so you clearly understand. It's like when I talk to a SaaS company or an app company, when they talk to me and this interface, this API, I know what they say. They don't have to explain me. So, but you imagine a copywriter, like a generic copywriter, talking to Andrew and say, give me this API, blah, 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 blah. No, understand a clue. So all of this, easy peasy. And the other part are the hard skills. You definitely need to spend a lot of time in good training, good copywriting training, and your focus will be different, a little bit different than the generic copywriting, because our focus, remember, it has to be in a balance between our client and the client of our client. And it's all about the guest experience. So you are, I always tell myself that I am an interface. I'm an interface between them, a two-way interface. So I make sure that they both understand each other, and they all both get what they want. One wants more booking, direct booking, and the other one wants to have something special, like when you book through the website, you get something extra, and you get better treatment in the end. So these things are important when you have to create that conversation on the website. And these are the key, I would say. I mean, extra apart from that, I would say languages. The more languages you speak, the better. That's another thing. Help me at least to speak more than just one language. And the other one, empathy. You really need to be very empathic to be there, and curious. You have to be a very ferocious reader. I read all the time. and it helps a lot. All the time, really. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, Maria. Are you, like, obviously COVID, everyone's starting to take things digital, right? So we hear so many people that, like, I don't want to put a guest compendium in the room anymore. I want to move all this digital. Are you starting to see a growth in that space? Because I know, at least from our side, like, copywriting is a huge amount of effort, and making sure it's right and it's done well. Languages is an awesome sort of call out, because your customer base isn't just from where you live. You know, they're coming from the UAE, they're coming from China, they're coming from everywhere, right? So you've got to have that global lens on it. But are you starting to see that growth in sort of incoming inquiries or sort of volume of work because people are now moving more digital?
Especially from the technology side, more than the hotel, because I bring back this point to what Carmen said. Hoteliers are very reluctant to change. So when you tell them, guys, the conversation you have on your website is wrong for today. No. It has always worked. No, it has changed. You need to change your website. So it's more difficult. But the truth is, with the technical companies, it's easier. And they come and say, well, we know that things have changed. We need to make sure that we are talking in the same, we have the same, the good conversation, not the same, the good conversation with our current customers. And so, yeah, I see an increasement, definitely. And don't think about the website copywriting. Copywriting, it's everywhere. Everywhere there's copywriting. You see for instance, applications, the bots, the chat bots, because some companies, they want to have a lovely website, but then they have a chat bot that is very unhuman, very like mechanic. It's a robot talking. What is your name? Give me this, give me that. And it's like, that's not copywriting, man. You need to talk like a person. You need to train your bot to talk like a person. And, that's where copywriting is for. So copywriting is everywhere, not only there. Yeah, and to answer your question, definitely, I see a lot of improvement, thank God. And yeah, a lot of customers as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's super interesting. Of course, that's good to hear. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really, it's good to hear that the industry is slowly moving forward, even if it is being driven by the tech sector. But the tech sector powers the hotel, the restaurant, and all of these other providers are there to drive us, to help us be better. So I see good things coming out of it, hopefully, and better guest experiences, better booking processes and tools and communications with both the team members at the hotels and restaurants, but also, of course, the guest, who is our most important person in this journey. We're coming.
Sorry, I want to add something, and it's that people think that we don't, the customers, they don't read. This is something that a lot of customers tell me. Like, no, I want very small thing. They don't read anything. They just go for the price. This is not true. We read more than ever. We are reading all the time. When you look at your phone, what are you doing? You're reading. You're reading all the time. You read science. You read blogs. You read the news. You read everything, and everything contains copywriting because the companies are trying to sell you something, but you don't notice that it's really selling.
Yeah, and actually selling the sales job, the business development, is just part of the equation, isn't it? Well, we've actually kind of coming closer to the end of this. I can't believe it's already been almost an hour. It's been such an interesting conversation. We've touched upon the kind of experience, the kind of jobs you can have in these different companies, how to kind of find them. One good tip: find the company that you know. Let's take, we have Alliants and Oaky here. Find them on LinkedIn, find relevant companies similar, and look on their website, who are they working with, and that way you find several companies and people that you can connect and research and see if that's something you're interested in. We also obviously discussed all the different skills, and especially the soft skills that we're so famous for in hospitality. Don't forget about them. Definitely do not ignore them. Focus on them and find a way to apply them in the tech sector if that's what you are interested in, because everything you do, you'll be working with people anyway. And whether you're implementing technologies, whether you're checking someone in at the at the reception desk, you need to know how to talk to people, how to interact with people, managing your boss, but you're being a boss and managing people in the future. That's all important experiences. So if you're not sure if you want to get hotel experience, do an internship and find out if it's for you, and then find a way to go forward from there.
Also, it's not only finding what you like, it's also finding what you don't like. Because there will be some parts of the job then you will say, no, I'm not back to this anymore. I don't want to work in this type of project anymore. I don't want to work, but I like this other thing. So it's also discarding, they say, this, not anymore. This one, I like it more. So it's also helpful with it. Not only just focus on what you love and what you like, it's also what you dislike.
And that's exactly what Carmen's experience was. She really enjoyed the experience at hotel, and she understands how it works, but realized that that's not something you want to do in the long term. And that is such a valuable lesson, because it helps you look at other things rather than feeling like you have to do something. I want to have a last question for every one of you here is, what advice would you give to hospitality students and graduates today, who actually today I think a lot Glion and Leroche are graduating. So if you were to give their graduation speech, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of entering hospitality industry today, and maybe even the tech side, maybe not even the tech side? Maria, do you want to go first?
Okay, well, I have two advice. One is to be curious, very curious. I mean, whatever you want, whatever you think that it's for you, go for it. But you have to be curious, so you have to find a lot of information. And today you have it at your fingertips. Just click in, and then you find all the information about it. So be curious, ask people, reach people out, ask them questions, and you will get to know what you really want. And the second is read outside the list. Yeah, Maria and I talked about it one day. And that when you graduate, you get like a list of possible positions that you can get at the hospitality industry, right? And you can be a revenue manager, you can be a director of hotel, you can be a receptionist. But there is so much more outside. If you look at just a hotel room, you see how many items a hotel room has, as well as if you look at the hotel, how many machines they use, how many applications, and the technology is huge. Well, think that behind every item, behind every machine, there is a company where you can work. So yeah, it's just thinking outside this little list, and you will find plenty of companies that are directly or indirectly related to hospitality.
Carmen, do you want to go next? Oh, sorry.
Yes. Sure. I think the best advice that I could give to hospitality graduates and students is that they should be aware of how valuable their education is, because it might, I confronted myself a lot with this during my studies, and I heard it from a lot of colleagues that, okay, I'm doing hospitality, something very basic. I'm not gonna get a job in a company like Google or Spotify or Netflix. That's not true. You have a very valuable skill set that would be a great asset to any company outside. And it might be that you lack some skills, but yeah, there are programs, there are courses. You just need to be very curious about it and search for it yourself, or yeah, just maybe do a master's or get in contact with people that know a lot about that subject specifically. So yeah, just be aware of how that you studied hard, and you have good skills, and you're gonna use it wherever you go, in whatever industry you're gonna perform. You're gonna use them, and you're gonna be very grateful for that.
Andrew?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with both Carmen and Maria there. I think the being curious is fundamental. Ultimately, in hospitality, you're looking at how do you improve the experience, not only for the guests, but also for the staff. And that's how companies should sort of be looking at it. So you have a vocational degree in that sense that it's around an industry. It's an intangible. Intangibles are always good because you can't sell it. It's not a product, it's a service. So that's a really valuable skill. So if you're looking at any role in a hotel tech company, that's a massive asset to you, is being able to have that hospitality experience. As I think Carmen said earlier, there are a vast array of roles. It can be finance, can be marketing, can be support, can be operations. The list is endless. So there's loads of opportunities behind those sort of machines and what to do there. And I think it's making sure that you're always challenging yourself and pushing yourself in the right way, that just don't accept the status quo. Like, I'll put my hands up. I got where I got to because when someone came in and said, hey, this is going to be great and this is the way it's worked, I was the only one that said, actually, it's not going to work. And we're so used to going, oh, it's another project, we just need to deal with it. But you have a voice, you've got to look at the customer and the staff experience and how do you push that forward. And I think as long as you've got that lighthouse and that beacon that you're always directing towards, you're going to find the right thing. It took me years to find the right niche and nook and get into that right role. And it can take a while, right? The way that the sort of operations pyramid works in a hotel, it's so flat and it can take, or it's so pointed, it can take a long time to progress up, and you get the wrong manager or something. So that can all happen. So find the stuff that really gets your juice going and you really enjoy. Be curious, challenge in a positive way. It's always and, it's not no. Always challenge in the right way, and then you'll find that sort of niche that really works for you. Find what doesn't work for you as well. It's as good to say what doesn't work for me as what does work for me.
Yeah, and be patient. I would summarize
be patient. Like, you're not going to be a manager out the door. It takes years. I've got staff that work for me now that like 24 and that, I earn this much. So I'm like, that's great. I was still earning that when I worked in a hotel at like 28, 30. It's like, just be patient. As long as you have that lighthouse and you're moving in that right direction, it will happen. It will come, because as long as you've got that sort of beating heart sort of behind that. And don't be afraid to move. Don't be afraid to sort of make decisions and change, because you're the one in control of your destiny. And if you just sit there and accept the status quo, you kind of get what you always get.
Yes, for sure. Well, we this is a great wrap up, but we keep getting some questions here as well. I just want to make sure we address them while we have 2 minutes. Do you think hospitality skills have the same market value as IT, meaning that they will value them as much as a hotel company?
Depends what you're applying for. In true honesty, if you were going for a customer success and support role, your hospitality skills are probably more valuable than your IT skills. If I'm being honest, you can teach a lot of people the map behind the scenes of how this works. As Maria sort of said, you've got to learn the system behind. You're not going to, every single company has the system work differently. So I think your hospitality skills, depending on what role you're going for, are potentially more valuable in that sort of sense.
And a question also from Moment. During COVID, all the industries are moving towards techs. Where is hospitality shift in terms of employment and management? I guess we didn't really get to so much AI, but of course, there's a room for automation of lots of skills and things that we do, but it's all in the response to improving that guest experience, right? It's making sure the check-in doesn't take 15 minutes, but it takes 2 minutes because everything's prepared. You have to press a couple of buttons, and it works on both ends, whether the guest or hotel.
Just think, what would you do? Like, so I think and we had this quick chat on it, Maria. I think, there's a difference here. Is like, if you're in a self-service sort of mid to low tier sort of thing, automation may ultimately change those roles and replace those roles, because the cost model just really works in that way. If you're in the other end and you're looking at full service and you're looking at luxury, it works in a different way, because the general managers and some of the managers are looking at going, what can that person do if they weren't behind a desk? What would they be able to do if they weren't doing that sort of reconciliation of the billing? Because the amount of manual work that is there behind the scenes, if that can be automated and you use machine learning and AI and it's consistent, what is the potential to do that? And I think ultimately long term is going to be the brands that will win are going to be the ones that can make the most human hospitality experience. And it's not about tech, it's not about the digital, it's how does it make it so seamless, but how do you get away from the front desk? How do you never have to touch someone with a credit card? How do you make it so seamless that after a 12-hour flight, I arrive and I relax because my front desk agent can be in front of the desk and walk me through, doesn't have to go to a desk, don't have to wait in a queue. So I think the potential there is what will happen if you were to automate it. What could you do with that extra time?
Well, fantastic. Everyone seems to be nodding, so brilliant. Thank you, everybody, so much for your time, for your contributions, for sharing your advice, tips and stories as well. I personally find it super interesting. Definitely going to look into how I can work closer with the tech side of hospitality and the digital space, and definitely reach out to the speakers if anyone has any questions, if I want to, ask how it works. And if you have any other additional questions you were too shy to ask live, definitely reach out to our speakers. Thank you so very much. And next week, same time, we're talking about airlines and careers in the airline industry. So make sure to tune in as well. And thank you. Have a lovely rest of the day, evening, morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.